Hi, welcome to Brady's Blunders, where I show you the mistakes in my games, hoping you don't make the same ones in yours. And I'm going to start this video with a bit of a confession, and that is when I make a video and put it up, I have no idea how it's going to be received. I can't predict which ones will be more popular. And sometimes I'll put up a video and I think, yeah, I nailed this one. This one's really good. And after I put it on YouTube, the likes kind of trickle in. And I'm like, And then other times I'll make a video and think, all right, I could refilm this, but I don't feel like it. It's going to have to do. It's good enough. And I'll put that one up and the likes come flying in. And it's difficult for me to predict. Well, even though I can't predict it very well, there is one correlation I've seen. And that is an inverse correlation between complexity of the video or of the topic and likes. So what that usually means is that if I do a video on complicated fighting, for me, that can be really interesting, but sometimes for the viewers, less so. And I think this is a pity, and I'll try to explain why. And in my opinion, true go strength, your true strength, is 90% determined based on your fighting skills. And sure, there's 10% other stuff, but really it's your ability to fight that determines your strength. And why would I say such a thing? Well, I've had an experience, and I'm pretty sure almost all of us have had it, where you play a game and you develop beautifully, right? Your opening is great, and you feel that after 15 moves, you've already got a 20-point lead on the board, and you're thinking, wow, my opponent knows nothing about Go. I'm doing great. And I'll bet you know where I'm going with this. On move 15, you think you've got a 20-point lead, and then on move 16, your opponent makes what you think is an unreasonable invasion into your territory, and then on move 24, your opponent makes what you think is an unreasonable crosscut, and then on move 30, your opponent picks up some of your stones, and what you thought was your territory is gone, or what you thought was your influence is wiped out, and this 20-point lead is gone, and you go on to lose the game. It's happened to me. I think it's happened to everybody. So what does that mean? That means that 20-point lead that you think you had was an optical illusion. And it wasn't a real 20-point lead because the strength of your opponent isn't known until the stones come into contact. Contact, extend, cross-cut, and that's when we find out who's the stronger player. It doesn't matter who makes the prettier formations. If one player is stronger, they're going to win. And stronger is determined in the fight. And what that means is that I can do a ton of videos talking about when to make a large knight's enclosure or a five-point extension, and all of that can be very good, and I like that stuff too. But the reality is, if you can learn to fight a little bit better, that will make a bigger impact on your game. So the purpose of today's video is to tell you how I think in a fight, and specifically I'm going to focus today on the concept of light groups and heavy groups and important groups and big groups, and how the knowledge of which groups are which can impact how you play. And actually this is even relevant before we get into the fights. So let's jump into it. And I'm playing white in this game, and my opponent just approached, and I answered, and then my opponent played over here. And the usual Joseki is going to be for black to continue here, or over here, thereabouts. Not to Tanuki. And I'm not saying Tanuki is a terrible move or anything, but usually the continuation is local. If I was to go ahead and answer here, then we might end up with a shape like this, right? Maybe something like this, and it's still a game. I haven't gained anything and I haven't lost anything. I've got most of this corner and I've got all of this corner. Black is stable and it's fine. I mean, neither of us have gained. But Black's offering me an opportunity to perhaps do better than that because he ignored this move. Now, if I pincer, he's got two groups instead of one group. And if he's got to think about two groups, well, that's good for me. So I played this stone to cut Black into two. So instead of settling for a 50-50 solution, I want better. All right. So after I played here, then Black played here. And can I tanuki is the question. Can I come play somewhere else? And the answer is, I suppose I could, but it would be a bad idea because it sort of invalidates the purpose of this move. Right? When I played this move, my goal was to keep his stones separated, and now he can cross-cut, and he's going to gain something. I mean, one possibility is I could take a nice big corner like this, but then Black is basically all connected and he's exuding power throughout the board and probably has territory over here too. Black would be happy with this continuation. So no, it's a bad time to tanuki. And instead, I played a move that kept his stones separated. So this stone is weak and these stones aren't yet strong. And you can see that the crosscut doesn't work anymore because of the addition of this stone. Gives me this nice tiger's mouth shape. So there's no way for Black to connect, and these stones are isolated and really, really weak. So I'd be very happy. Black may live over here small. I don't care. That's fine. I'm not hoping to kill everything. I just want to keep him separated and keep him weak. So that was the purpose of this move. It looks slow, but is consistent with what I've already played. Then Black went and played a move that I hadn't seen before this, and I've actually had another opponent play it since then. And again, my goal was let's keep him separated. So I'm keeping this stone separated from these stones and this stone separated from these stones, and I figure so long as I can do that, I should be in decent shape. And let's see, I think the continuation was something like this. And so at this point, I'm developing a corner, but I've got weaknesses, and Black also has some weaknesses here, right? This cut is looking pretty nasty for this group. So he went ahead and defended that cut by playing there, and I made my shape stable by playing here. Okay, so now the situation has changed a little bit, and I've made profit. I'm now running along the fifth line here instead of, usually you end up on the third or fourth line, right, as you extend from a side. So Black even then pushed twice more, and now you can really see this is looking very good for me. So the original purpose of these white stones was to keep Black separated. The problem I have now is that once Black played this, that no longer works. Right? Now Black is connected. And this was, I think, a bad move by Black. It's a little bit slack, submissive, if you will. But this is nevertheless what he played. So how should I think about these AB stones now? So if I go back a little bit to this point, these are very important stones because they're splitting two Black groups. And that's the definition of what we consider important. These stones are important because they split two weak groups. Right? If Black was completely alive on this side and completely alive on this side, then maybe these stones could still split them, but they'd no longer be important because Black is fine on both sides. So these stones are important because they split two groups, and they split two groups that are weak. And that's what makes them important. And in general, we want to save our important stones. But once we played this variation, and Black was able to play here, now this Black group is very strong, right? And it's stable. So these stones are no longer important. And I guess the first question I would ask, and not a formal question in these videos, but does that mean I made a mistake, right? Does that mean the game is going badly for me? And the answer to that is no. I've made profit along the top. And that profit is because A and B put black under pressure. And so I used that pressure to make profit, and then black came back and said, okay, now I'm connected and safe. So what that means is A and B have already accomplished something for me. And so they were actually a good exchange. The game is good for white at this point. And then the first question of this video is, all right, so we know that A and B have already accomplished their purpose. They're no longer important stones because they're not cutting anything. So the question is, if you were white, where would you play next? Go ahead and pause if you like. I'll wait here for you. Okay. First, I'll tell you what I thought, and then I'll tell you how I played. And it turns out how I thought was correct. And my thinking is, A and B have already done what they're going to do, so it's not really critical that I save them. But if black wants to eat them, I'm okay with it. Just make him eat them small. And my solution to that was to jump out fast, right? So if I thought they were really important, maybe I'd only do a 1-space extension, and I played a 2-space extension thinking, see, there you go. If black somehow eats those stones, I don't mind that much, and I'll just try to control the outside. And my thinking was that this will be good enough for me, and black's not getting very much, and I was happy. The problem is, and it won't come into effect right away, but it could come into effect later in the game, is this actually isn't treating these stones lightly. This is connecting with these stones. And in so doing, I'm actually making this group heavier. And that's where we get into that term. When does a group become heavy? Is when a group becomes heavy when your opponent can make a lot of points by killing it. And therefore, if the opponent puts pressure on it, you feel that you have to respond. It's too big a group to give up. That means it's heavy. And so by playing a stone here, now I want you to imagine that black, here, I'll put it on the board. Let's say black gets a stone here and a stone here. How would you feel about it? Would you feel as white that you need to answer? I imagine that the answer to that is yes. And if that's the case, that means these stones are heavy. And so my attempt to play lightly actually is a heavy move. And I was just wrong. And so does that mean I should treat, if those stones are light, I should play somewhere else and play something like this? Well, no, this wouldn't be good either, because black could just play here. And now he's threatening to swallow these two stones up at a large scale, right? So if you think of black playing another move, over here, now you can see that black is starting to surround a very large territory and eat these at a large scale, and all of a sudden, yeah, it doesn't look so promising. So playing somewhere else is also not a good idea. The idea is make black feel that he needs to pick them up. Otherwise, he's going to lose the chance. Something like this is the idea, right? That I'm threatening to reduce you, black, and maybe pull those stones out. So black says, okay, no, I'm not going to let you do that. So the variation I just showed you had black playing here. So play where your opponent wants to play, and then he's playing 2 lines further in. This would be okay for white. This would still be a good game. Black may be eating these stones, but he's eating them at a small scale, and there's defects in the shape left behind for white to exploit later. But white has an even better way, and that would be playing here. Now, when I first saw this move, I said, but black's going to cut that right away. And I mean, black's never, this would be a dream for white, right? Black's not going to play this way, because then white's controlling the center, and black has spent all of these stones for a little bit of third line territory, maybe 20 points. It's not good enough. So black would never play that way. Black's going to cut those stones off. And of course, if white answers this way, yeah, this is terrible continuation for white, because these 3 stones are under a lot of pressure, and so is this one, right? So there you go. There's the first cut, and it's bad for white. But if white instead says, do you really want to eat those stones? Well, of course, black's going to say, yeah, I really want those stones. And white says, do you really want to eat those stones? And black says, yeah, I do. And now white can just descend. And okay, so black got the stones. But really what happened is it's white made black eat the stones. And black already paid for them with the extension at A and B and the submissive move at C. Black's already paid quite a lot to pick up these 2 stones. So white's going to say, the stones already did their job, so that's good. And I'm going to make black pick them up. And in so doing, make a nice shape and make another black stone weak. So I make black pick them up and I profit. This would be a great continuation. So my analysis of, the cut looks terrible was correct. But my thought that I need to save those stones was wrong. And instead encourage black to eat those stones. So these stones, so the lesson from this is these stones started off as important. But I made money out of them along the top, and then as soon as black connected underneath, they became not just light stones, they became good soldiers who've already done their job, and I want to give them away. I want to make black eat them. Okay. But I didn't do that. Instead, I played this. And now we get into the fighting part of the game. So after I played here, black played this knight's move, and let's just jump forward like 50 moves. And let me show you what's going on. We've ended up into this big, complicated fight. And as I said, the A and B stones could get heavy. You can see that it's already happening. That black has created this little worm that's sneaking right in between all of my groups, and it's cutting A and B off. So, so A is a group, and B is a group, C is a white group, D is a white group that's not yet completely alive, and E is a white group that isn't yet completely alive. So I've got 5 groups on this board that aren't completely alive, and black has 2, right? This worm isn't yet alive, and neither is this group here. So the game looks kind of difficult for me. I've got 5 weak groups, and black has 2. And before asking a question, I'll show you what I did here. And my hope, let me explain how I thought. So in a fight like this, the way I think, or recommend thinking, I guess, is ask yourself this first. Can I capture the cutting group or cutting stones? And if the answer to that is yes, then you don't need to think a lot further, right? If you can just capture the cutting stones, then your groups are all safe and the game should be good, right? That's victory. In a fight, if you can capture the cutting stones, you kind of win the fight. So if you can read a sequence that says, yep, I can capture the cutting stones, then don't think much further. Just do it. The game is good. If you can't read a sequence that does it, then you need to go through your groups of stones and identify which ones are important and which ones are light, if you will. So, and prioritize your groups that way. And so what you're looking for are groups that you can afford to give up and it won't cost the game. And you also want to identify which of your groups are cutting groups and which of your groups are too big to lose. So they may be cutting groups, they may not, but if you lose that group, you're going to lose the game. And that's kind of a way to think about a fight. You know, just prioritize your groups, and if you've got groups that you're going to lose the game if they die, they need help. And if you've got cutting stones and you can save them, you should, because then the fight continues on. If you lose those cutting stones, then it's the reverse of what I just talked about in terms of if you can capture your opponent's cutting stones, you win the fight. If he can capture your cutting stones, then he wins the fight. So at any rate, I was in my second to last BO at this point in time, and my quick analysis was that because this black group isn't completely alive, I'm going to keep putting some pressure on it. I'm going to make it hard for him to link up. But this was not good. Black answered here, cutting me off. I answered here, and then black answered here. And at this point, it seemed to me that this black group was getting safer. All right, but this will be the second game problem. And if you were white, where would you play now and why? And you know, again, think about that process that I mentioned. If you can capture cutting stones, and then just do it. And if you can't, then evaluate the strength and weakness of your groups, figure out which ones you need to save and which ones you can let go. All right, go ahead and think about it. I'll wait here for you. Okay, so when I looked at the board, as I hinted, I figured that this cutting group is getting pretty safe, and I certainly don't see a way to attack it now. So I decided I'm just going to leave it alone, and nor do I have a way to capture this cutting group, at least not right now. So that first thing that I said to look for of just capture the cutting group isn't clear to me. So then I had to move on and I had to look at my groups. All right. So A was light at the beginning of the game, as soon as black played here, right? So it's still light. So A is the smallest of my groups, the one I need to worry about the least. B right now, it could be cutting stones, but it looks difficult. So it's not surely cutting. So I'll put it as more important than A, but not all that important. C is cutting these two targets that I've mentioned, right? The worm and this group, which doesn't have eyes. So C is really important. These are cutting stones. All right. D is also cutting stones. It's cutting the same two groups. Plus, it's really, really big. It's the kind of group that you can't give up and hope to win. So D is probably even bigger than C. No, definitely even bigger than C. It's cutting and it's game losing if I lose it. And E is also really, really big. If I lose this group, I'm going to lose the game. So there it is. My priority are groups D and E. I have to make sure that they don't die. I can afford to give up A and B, but I'd really love to save C if I could. And so let's look at D. How much danger is it in? My feeling was, and this wasn't based on reading, this was based on experience and feeling, that it's going to be okay for me. That I've got a half an eye with this stone here, or half an eye if I play here. I've got an area to run over here where I can make more eyes, or I can end up running to the left. Plus, I've got a cut here, which looks really nasty for white. So some combination of these things, I feel like I'm going to be able to make two eyes. And I actually don't even think it's going to be that hard. And there's a ton of variations, and obviously I can't read them all out in a single BO. So it was more based on instinct and experience, and it played out, actually. This was correct. So whereas E is easier to understand, right? E is safe for two reasons. Number one, it has outside access, right? So I can run to this area or even to these friendly stones. So that's nice. Number two is even if it gets surrounded, I can live this way, right? When black plays here, I can play here and make two eyes. By the way, this is one of my favorite shapes in Go, is playing this first line move, making it so that this Atari doesn't work. I love this move. Right? Black can't capture this stone because of the presence of this one. Yeah, so I just love this move. And I love it even more in this case because it makes two clear eyes. The problem for me with this situation is that if black surrounds me, then I have to play there. Right? I have to do it right away. Otherwise, black will take away those eyes and he will kill me. So the act of surrounding me for black is sente against the corner. And that makes me unhappy. All right. So when I looked at it, I thought, all right, so E can live, so I don't need to worry about it. And D can live, so I don't need to worry about it. So that means my priority should be saving this C group, this other cutting stone group. And that's what I set out to do. But I did it really, really badly. And I don't know, do you have a sibling? And were you ever in the situation with the sibling where the older one grabs the younger one's hand and makes them hit themselves in the face, and then says, "Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?" Well, that's kind of what I did with this continuation. It was really bad because I decided to help C by turning this way. But this is like one sibling hitting the other sibling in the face. And all of a sudden, with one move, I realized that, oh, if black gets another move, then he's totally surrounded me, and then I have to go back and try to live in Gote. So that's really, really painful. So my turn here hurt me, and I actually had to answer. And then once I answered, and black knew that I didn't want to be surrounded, black played one more time, and I answered again. And then black just came here and said, yeah, what are you going to do? And so my punching myself in the face and deciding, okay, I need to answer, actually what I did was just added one stone to black's capture. And indeed, these 3 stones were picked up. So my continuation was awful. Just terrible. All right, so if I hadn't have been in Byoyomi, what would I have done? What would I have done differently? All right, well, I don't want to punch myself in the face, so I probably would have extended. And thinking, I've got plenty of time, I'm smart, I can do well. The problem is this isn't much better. Yeah, I'm sort of helping the stone, but if you assume that these moves are still sente, then black can play here. And if you look, it's white that's getting just completely surrounded at scale. And in a way, this move here almost looks like a -1 point pass. So, yeah. And I think I would have played that if I had time. So that's even worse. So what that means is it's very hard to help C directly. My trying to help C directly just increases the capture. So, okay. So what does that mean I should have done, or what could I have done? And now we're sort of getting into the complexities of the fighting, aren't we, right? That I've identified my important cutting groups are C, D, and E, and I've decided that D and E I can save, so I don't need to worry about them that much. I want to save C, but damn it, in this fight, I can't do it. So how should I think? Well, think indirectly, and an indirect attack. I can't help it directly, but what if I create a crosscut situation over here? It's very possible that the continuation of this could help these stones. And what it does is it gives black a problem. So let me back up a couple moves. If you look right now, this corner is only sort of 2/3 white. I mean, black can actually jump into the corner right now if he feels like it. So it's not yet my territory. So when I play this crosscut here, it could be potentially big for me. In terms of continuations, there's a ton, and I'm not going to show them all. As a matter of fact, I'm only going to show 2, and they may not even be the best 2. But the idea is to get the idea, if you will, of what this crosscut does is it offers blacks a choice, right? And if black says, well, I'm not going to give you that cutting stone, and he tries to help it, and then I extend out, and black says, no, I'm not going to give you that stone, then I can use the sequence is forcing moves, right? And I could play here, so black picks up, and I could play here as a forcing move, so black picks up, and then I can play here, and then black eats. But now all of a sudden, with these stones here, I can move these white stones out. And again, these are cutting stones. And if I can move these out, this black group has no eyes and nowhere to run. So this would be a pretty cool continuation. And that's what offering the crosscut made possible. Okay, but of course black doesn't have to do that. Black can go ahead and say, ooh, no, white, I see what you're doing. You're tricky. I'm going to make it so you don't get all those forcing moves, and I'm going to make sure I eat those white stones. Now, there's 2 problems with that. Number 1, it's not yet a clean capture. There's still aji that these stones will be able to move out later. And second is it lets me capture the corner in a big way. Remember, before I played here, that the corner was open for black to invade, but now not only have I secured the corner, I've captured quite a bit more territory than that. So the indirect attack, or indirect defense, what is it? I guess it's more of an indirect attack. Puts black in an awkward position, and it says, which is more important to you, black? Do you want to make sure that these stones are dead, or and therefore give me a lot of territory, or do you want to create a complex fight in which maybe I'll be able to pull these stones out. And that's the idea. And if you can pull off moves like that on a regular basis, you're a pretty good Go player. Okay, let's go review real quick because this video is getting long. So the key ideas from this video are when I first play A and B, they're cutting stones. So they're very, very important, and I want to preserve them. But once black gets this stone here, they're no longer cutting anything. So they're light. And so key ideas: save your cutting stones when you can, and give up your light stones when you can. And if you can make your opponent eat your light stones and gain some profit, all the better. So that's key concept number 1. Key concept number 2 is definitely don't make it heavy, right? And then the key concept number 3 is, in terms of thinking through the fight, just remember this. 1, can I capture the cutting stones? If I can, just do it and the game will be good. Number 2, if you can't capture the cutting stones, then start by figuring out which of your groups are important, making sure that they're safe, and if you can, save those cutting stones. They're really, really important. This problem was even more complicated than that because it turned out I couldn't save the cutting stones directly, and that leads to the idea of helping the stones indirectly, right? Putting black in a situation where now he has to choose the least bad of 2 options. And if you can do that, yeah, that's good. All right. So I guess it's the usual. If you have thoughts on the video, I'd love to hear them. I really appreciate the comments. And also, if you liked it, please like it. And if you're not a subscriber and you want to be alerted to future videos, please go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.